Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for the next webinar session about manual testing for accessibility enhancement. First of all, I will do some housekeeping again. I would like to invite you to this year's DevFest in Vienna. It will be hosted in the TU, Technische University, Technical University of Vienna, in the 4th district, and it's free for everyone to join. And we do have the important part, call for proposals, where you can submit anything about the web or mobile or cloud AI. Doesn't matter. I personally hope that many women will submit a talk, women and people with disabilities, and especially topics about accessibility, because I would love to for the GDG, which the Google Developer Group here in Vienna, to be known for the accessibility part, so that we are doing many stuff for accessibility and inclusion, and not like all the other GDG groups, which are mostly nowadays about AI and cloud and stuff. Yeah, so I would encourage every woman out there and that you submit a talk about a topic you're comfortable with. And even if you are a first-time talker, doesn't matter. Last year, I was the only woman there speaking. And this should not be happening again this year. So please, please, please submit a talk and go on stage, talk about accessibility or whatever excites you. Do it for the community. Yeah, you have time until July 14th. Hopefully see you there. It's in November this autumn. And as usual, the content, so the recordings for today and also the slides, you can find on my Accessibility First website in the webinar series tab under the manual testing for accessible enhancement. So now there are no links, but when I'm uploaded it, then you can see the links here, or you could also go to the GDG community page. This is always a little bit hidden. You enrolled for today's event via the GDG Vienna. And also I want to thank you all for joining the webinars, because since I did the webinar series and GDG Vienna is already existing for, I think, 10 years, we have now doubled the group members. So I'm very happy about all you, every one of you, that you are interested in accessibility and improving your skills towards front-end development. So thank you for that. But back to it. So for the upcoming events, or in this case, after the event, it will be hidden in the past events. Then you can click for the event today and scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. And of course, I should show it for an event that already is in the past. It will be here. You can click on the event, and then you will find, scrolling down, the recording of today's session as well as the slides. I think not everyone knows this because this is very hidden, and I was looking for it as well for a long time. But it exists, and so now you know as well. And or you can go to the Google Drive, where I add all the transcripts, the slides of today's sessions. And everyone should have access to the Google Drive as well. Yeah, then let's go over to today's topic, which is manual testing. When it comes to manual testing, why do we do manual testing is the first thing we are going to talk about, as well as what can we do with manual testing. It would be keyboard testing, like is there a visual focus, and also the focus order, as well as screen reader testing, but also like cognitive testing or layered structuring, like does the image alternative text make even sense, or is the heading structure well formulated, and stuff like this as well. So we all know already from previous webinars, and so that we can do automated testing. And this is also always the first thing I do when I enter a website, a new website I don't know about. So I do the automated testing with the XDev tools. This is just the simplest way to start getting an overview of how shitty the code is, or in most of the times it's even more shittier than we will expect. So this is the first thing we can do, and things an automatic testing tool can find is, for example, color contrast of text against its background. But what cannot be tested is, for example, a color contrast of text when the background is gradient or an image. So this would fall under manual testing. Also, like I already mentioned, that an automatic testing tool can check if there is an alternative text, so if it's existing, but it cannot check if the text makes sense. And yeah, if the user can understand it and if it's even necessary. So when we find an alternative text which says image, then okay, the automatic testing tool knows that there is an alt text, but image is not a very descriptive text at all, because the screenreader already announces image, so it's superfluous. And also mentioned already for the cognitive senses is like headings and lists and landmarks. So do they exist? Landmarks especially, so the existence can be with automatic testing tools, but the correct markup and how it is structured and does it make sense? So like the heading text, is the layout makes it sense when you enter the page for the first time and you only see the headings? Can you grasp what the whole website is about? Yeah, if ARIA is present, automatic testing tool can also check if the ARIA used correctly or if there's a corresponding ARIA to it. But yeah, it's always better to check manually as well. Then, of course, the keyboard testing. Is keyboard course available? And is it high enough, the contrast? And also, does the focus order make sense? Is it additionally, and I will show you some examples. Thing is that also interact as you as when you enter when you comment, can you hit the enter key as well as the space bar to activate the button, or maybe when the button is created not with the default HTML elements, then it's possible that people only coded with, for example, a mouse event, and this would not be enough because people who are used to use only the keyboard know that how you can interact with a button with different keys. Even how different parts or how different interactive elements can be activated and navigated. Got into accessibility completely new for me because this was completely new for me. I only used the mouse and using the mouse. I was how can interact only with only the keyboard, like checkboxes or radio buttons. So this is something you know about it. It's totally fine. Just implement it, that you test it, and that you at this specific moment make sure that you do your research on I'm gone. Really? Ah, okay. Okay, yeah, just keep in the chat. So So from my side, everything seems fine. Also, the connection itself, I have the highest connections, but let's see. Okay. Okay. Yeah, for example, video elements that we can see that it is here, but do we have a good title? And also what we cannot automatic testing tools is if our application is responsive, for example. So this would be something we can only test by manual testing and by looking at different screen sizes such. Then we have a few different tools we can use. The Freedom Scientific organization or company offers quite a few tools, not only the two I mentioned here, but first of all, the JAWS screenreader. You have to pay for it, but 40 minutes, you get, I think, 40 minutes per day free. This is the, I would say, best screenreader out there in terms of support, process support. But of course, since it costs money, not many people can afford it. So I'm not sure if it's still the most used screen reader. Yeah, we can see it in the chart afterwards, but I think it's this one out there, but we also for free. What they do have other products like the Zoom text. They also shared it with Zoom text magnifier because Zoom text is also something we should test manually, meaning that when so now, of course, we can always zoom in with doing the command plus and minus, but with the Zoom text, you can also not only zoom in the web, but also on your desktop to check if it's how much you can zoom in and if you lose any content, for example. And of course, people use Zoom. For you, it's a test, but for people who need to rely on Zoom text because of low vision or something, then of course this is the tool to use on a regular basis and for you to try out. And you have other products as well. You can navigate through all the low vision products. This is also, I think, Freedom Scientific is very interesting in terms of what does even exist out there. So there are so many tools I don't even know about. I only know about screen reader, and yeah, of course, that you have to zoom in, but there are so many other tools out there. I recommend check everything out, what they have to offer and how people use this on the normal basis. Very interesting. Then we have the NVDA screen reader. This one is for free. It's open source. That's why maybe it's also, when it comes to process support, always a little bit behind, but I would say it's almost the same as JAWS. So you can download it for free and learn with it how to use it. And there is something called Dragon Speech by Nuance. I personally never used it, so I do not know anything about it. But the usage of it is that, so I only know it from my testers in my team. They have to use it when they do an accessibility audit, that you talk to the screen. So no keyboard or no mouse or anything, just talking via the application or the software, Dragon software, and navigate the internet. I'm sure it's very interesting. I did not spend time until today to try it out, but this is something actually we, at least in our company, have to guarantee that applications, or when we do an audit, to guarantee that applications can also be navigated only via speech. Because also with the new law, we have to make sure that a person can use the web with two senses. So speaking one of it. So the first thing we are going to test today is the manual keyboard testing, which means we're focusing on, it's most likely the tab key in the beginning to show the, first of all, if it's visual, that visible? So the focus, is it visible? Can we see where we are on the page? And also, does the focus order make sense? And yeah, for the operator part, the interactive elements on a screen, can they be interacted normally, like as a default HTML element suggests, can they be interacted with? And this shows immediately if it were used, and if in case it is a custom-made interactive element, which is kind of fine because maybe it is a legacy code for 10 years ago. If the developer knows about all the interaction moves. So this would be the important part, even though they decided not to use the very simple to implement native HTML element, which is all the keyboard interactions already built. So first of all, we go to the link. A link element is when we tap with the tab key. So on this example, so I'm using the Mozilla MDN web docs because they have great examples here. We could tap through the link list with the tab key, like this, and going back with the shift tab. And what's important for a link is that when hitting the spacebar, nothing happens because a link cannot be activated using the spacebar, but it should be activated using the enter key. And when we click it, then we are going to a new location. In this case, it's an example domain for showcasing reasons. So a link is always can be activated using the enter key and only the enter key. For the next example, I created a button because the example of the MDN was nothing happened. Just that you believe me, it's a button. A button with arrow hidden true because it was also for another showcasing reason. Sorry for that. So it's not screen reader accessible, but for keyboard, it's totally fine. And when we hit the tab key and navigate button, we, in this case, because it's a button, we can activate it using or interact with it using the enter key. So the thing here is that it changed the font color from blue to yellow, but we can also use the space key to make it work. So for links, only the enter key. For buttons, enter key and spacebar. And that is also the reason why it's always important, or this great discussion about, is it a button or is it a link? And many people style links as a button and then they believe it's a button, but it all comes down to how to interact with it. And when you style something as a button, which is totally fine, but for screen reader users or also for users who are used to the styling thing, that a link can also look like a button, they know how to interact with it. So it is important to make sure that use the A tag when you want the user to navigate somewhere within the page or to a different location, because then they know they can only hit the enter key. And if it is a button, so there's a functionality, you can change something will pop up or will be closed, then use the button, because then the user knows that they can also use the spacebar or the enter key. Then something interesting for me is the input for the radio as well as the input for the checkboxes. That in this case, for the radio buttons, when we navigate into a radio element, so in this case, we use a field set because then this shows that the radio buttons stick together. So this is one topic where you use the radio buttons, and with the field set you can showcase this. And to enter the radio button group, you can hit the tab key, or you will hit the tab key to enter it when using the keyboard. But hitting the tab key again, you will get to the next focus-able element and not to the next radio button element. This is important, also interesting for me, or it was new for me, because you enter the group with the tab, but within the group you do not, you cannot use the tab again, but you navigate via the arrow keys. So in this case, when you do not want the Hui, but the Dewey or the Louis, you will click the arrow button. Let's see, I can, in this case, for going to the next is down or the right, and going up again, I can use the up or the left arrow key. So this is how you activate or the radio or the option you want. Select. Yeah, this is how you select the option you want by using the arrow keys. So trapped kind of in here with the arrow keys, so you cannot go outside. But if you want to leave, you have, yeah, let's choose the Dewey, and you are satisfied with your selection. Then you want to go to the next focus-able element, and then you can hit the tab key again. And this is now how you leave the radio button group. For the input with checkbox, it is different. Here you can use the tab key to go to the different options, and also because in this case you do not have to have. So with the radio button, you have to, most of the time the first one is already selected, meaning that if you want to change it, then you have to use the arrow keys to make the correct selection, while in checkboxes, this was default, that one already is checked. But there are also examples where you do not have checked by default. Here's also checked by default. You can add this attribute in the HTML element. Otherwise, you go inside, clicking the tab key, you can navigate between these two, and you can activate or select the check options with the space, check and uncheck. And of course, you can also select both. This is most of the time when we use checkboxes, that you have the possibility to select as many as you want, while using radio you only select one option. And nothing happens with the enter key. So to select something, we use a spacebar, but to navigate between the input elements, we can use the tab key. Or we have to use the tab key and not the arrows. And for the last example with the keyboard, I cannot show that much now. It's about tables. And there's a difference using a table only with the keyboard, but also when you use a table or navigate a table using a screen reader. Currently, we're just using the keyboard, and I can see the table and I can read the table. So in this case, there is no need for me to navigate inside the table. So let's go near it. Currently enter play, and then I would also be placed. If you expect to navigate the table, let's say also with the arrow keys, it's not possible because this is not what we do with a keyboard only. So hitting the tab key, you will jump to the next focus-able element. A table is not focus-able by default. And using the arrow keys is also scrolling the page up and down. But this changes when we use the screen reader. Because when navigating with the screen reader, then we are going from browse mode to focus mode, and then we can go inside the table, because at some point the screen reader user, which who maybe has low vision or is blind and cannot read the text or the table content, and the screen reader has to read it out loud, then they of course have to have the possibility to navigate with the table. And so they then can use the tab key and the arrow keys to navigate, and everything will be read out for them. So this is a difference between keyboard users and screen reader users using a keyboard, just to make sure. And yes, and the last example for keyboard would be, we have here a testing website. I share it with you in my slides. I can also share it here that you already have it, and you can check it out, test on your own. It's very simple. Let's test it for the focus order, or for both. If the focus order, does it make sense, and also is the focus visible? We are starting with the friend. Already when going into the website, I realized that hitting the tab key that the skip domain content link is not available, because otherwise this would be the first focusable element. So this is already a bug I would in my issue report just for myself, which is always yeah, no one else would be able to read it, but just for me, it was a skip link is missing. And after that, after my whole list, I would make it, of course, really beautiful for other developers. What I'm trying to say here with skip link is missing. We are now at the logo of the website. Then, okay, we have the profile, the feed. Now I cannot see anything. So the circles, I assume we are on the circles element, but I cannot see it. Let's try to interact with it, because there is an arrow down and maybe there is something inside. And there is. Okay, I could open it. And oh, now when hitting the tab key again, I can see that we are at the first element of this drop down. And okay, when reaching the end, we are neither keyboard trap, so we and it also does not close when we tap outside. Could be a problem because it hides then elements behind it. So now in the search, the focus is maybe a little bit, so the contrast is maybe too low, and I would also check, I would write it in my issue list that the search input field contrast is maybe too low, and I would check later on. Then from here, we're jumping to here to complete the profile button, and we're going to the text area field. This is until now understandable for me, so the focus order would be quite good. I'm not able to see where I'm now. Okay, now I'm on the second cat, Berlioz, and then Marie, and I'm now on the share button, so down using the arrow down key. And now I am on the link for goats. I'm not sure if this would be what I expected. Maybe I would expect to have the focus on goats, the goats links before the share button, but we would have to check maybe with designers or also with the source code if this would be correct. So if the code is written that the share button in the DOM comes before, then I would say it's quite okay. And this is also the case, and then the link comes afterwards. It does not look like it in the beginning, but in the source code, it is the case. Yeah, and down, it's a block quote and text. So this would be for testing, is focus visible, how is the focus order, and also is the skip link existing, which in this case is not. Yes, so let's go over to the screen reader testing. Now we can see, of course, is the most used browser, screen reader, even though it costs something. And the important thing here is, this is from the WebAIM screen reader survey, in case you do not know about it. It's very interesting also to check the differences between every year, what screen reader or what browser is used more and more over all the years. And the WebAIM has also other projects like the 1 million tested homepages and their issues. where you can see that, for example, the alt text missing is, well, no, the color contrast is the most common accessibility issue out there. And also how it changes over the years, and at some point issues being more than last year, which is very concerning, but sometimes it's also getting better. So let's see where it goes, especially now with the new law. But now we focus on the screen reader combination. So when testing with screen readers, and also when you're doing an audit, it's important to test for screen reader and browser combinations which commonly used. So in this case, JAWS with Chrome is the most common used combination. But in case you say, okay, you do not have JAWS because you do not have the paid version, you cannot use it. It's kind of okay, I guess. But with NVDA, you should also then test with Chrome. If you, then I would suggest only use JAWS with Chrome and NVDA with Firefox and VoiceOver with Safari. So there's no need for you to use VoiceOver on a Mac in Firefox, because how the screen reader and browser support works does not the output. Let's put it this way: the screen reader output is different in every browser and also for every screen reader. So if you use JAWS, it not necessarily not a huge difference, but there are differences in an output. And if you use JAWS, for example, in a table, then it reads the captions first, for example, and then it also navigates within the first hint in the first table data, while the NVDA does only read does not focus on the first table data, for example. This is already maybe it's an advantage for JAWS users. But in general, to understand the table, it's almost the same. But this is also because of the support you get from browsers. You have to imagine that there is a group of people who are creating HTML elements. So this is the W3 groups. There's so many groups out there using focusing on HTML or focusing on CSS. And after some time, and I'm talking about years, then you read something about there's a new HTML element, or DSS property is now supported also by Edge, for example. This happens over years and over many discussions within the group, that first of all, the element gets created and discussed what the native HTML element or the native the CSS should be able to do. And then it takes a while that every browser does support these new elements or these new attributes. So this is not that I have this idea for this new cool HTML element and tomorrow you can simply use it in a browser. This is a new team is working on the support. And you can see the support that this is, for example, the A tag. Here you can see which browsers support this element. And this took a while. You can see it even in more detail that, for example, for the A tag, you have different attributes, and these, for example, do not have any support at all, but only in Safari. This is also the sign for it's still under experimental, or this does not. You should not use it anymore. So it's deprecated. But only because it has browser support does not mean it has screen reader support. This is also a completely different team. As mentioned, JAWS is a team and they are getting paid, so they can work faster than the NVDA, which is open source, and it takes a little bit longer to implement the whole support. This also takes several months, maybe years, that a new element which has now finally processed or has screen reader support. Enough for this. But just saying that if you're starting using screen reader and start testing, stick to the first 5 at the maximum. Of course, you should also use VoiceOver with Safari on Mac to make it more wider, and otherwise JAWS and NVDA. I also shared with you from Duke University some shortcuts to help you start using screen readers. In this case, I shared the link for the voiceover, but the resources, screen reader reference guide, I think it is. You have also how you use screen reader on the desktop. How to use JAWS, the shortcuts, or narrator, or NVDA. And I shared with you was the Mac, and also some common gestures for the mobile versions. And this is, of course, only I think the most common use for this long how you can navigate the web. This is just for you to get started. Yeah, and I shared the link here as well. I also shared the examples we are talking before, that you can check it out in NDA. So for the screen reader, we will check out again this friendly site, and I start my screen reader. I'm using a Mac. I always have the latest version. I do not know what it is called, but Sequoia 15.5. The good thing on Mac is that if you have the newest version of the system, then you also have the newest version of the voiceover, because it's integrated. For NVDA or also for JAWS, you have to update it manually. So meaning that only because I am on this version does not mean that the output would be the same on your Mac if you haven't updated your MacBook for 1 year, for example. This is also something people mostly do not think about, that they say, okay, it works here and this is my output, and think the output is the same everywhere. So the version is very important. So if you test something, you always have to note down which version of the operating system you have used, the browser, and also the browser version. So of course the Chrome browser or the Firefox browser also have updates on and on. And so you have to add the version of this browser as well, and as well the screen reader versions, to make sure that what you have tested is correct in this setup. So for the Mac, I can open the voiceover with Command F5.
Voiceover on Chrome. Profile picture. What are you meowing about? Image. Heading. Level 1. Jane Pop. Search visited. Link.
And like every other developer.
Content list. Edit text. Blank. Button. Profile picture. Profile picture. What are item with? You are search visited. Link. Search visited. Link. Visited. Link. Poor. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
Also screen reader testing. So be patient with me and let's go through it. So with the screen reader, I'm currently on the first link. As it says, you can read the text hopefully, and yeah, it says that I'm on a link. You can click
profile
this link,
picture, image, heading, level 1, Jane Pause, visited, link, search visited, print pool, content list, edit text, visited, link, profile, current, list 3 items. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
And it also said that we have 3 items, meaning that we most likely are in a navigation, because it looks like a navigation. And
to get missing image descriptions, visited
that 3 items in it, which would be profile, feed, and circles.
Circles, collapsed, visited, link,
using the tab key
visited,
again,
link, feed.
We go to the next
You are
link.
currently on a link. To click the link, circles, collapsed, button. You are currently on a button. To click this button, also press Control Option Space.
We can press Control Open Space to click the button.
Circles, expanded button.
Now it's expanded. It tells us that it's expanded. This is useful because the screen reader user now knows that they have to navigate inside something and maybe choose something.
Visited, link, cool cats, 1 of 3, menu, level 2.
It also says that we are in the menu from level 2, meaning that we are like a sub-menu, because the first one was the navigation, and also that is one for 3. So the user now knows that we can choose between 3 elements. Visited, link, up dogs, 2 of 3, menu, level 2. And on which one
you are currently visited, link, goats, circles, collapsed, button. You are currently in a menu.
So now navigating in the search input field, nothing was announced. So the screen reader user does not know that where they are or what happened. And also on the button for the search, to activate the search, which most likely is a submit button, also nothing is announced. And we will check this afterwards in source code why this is the reason. Now it's getting weird that nothing is announced anymore.
0% progress indicator. Object replacement character. You are currently in a menu. Times button. Heading level 3. Complete your profile.
Yes.
Group. Heading level 3. Complete your profile.
It announces the heading. I guess it seems that the focus is on the heading when
complete your profile. Level 2.
The model to give the user the understanding on what's going on in the model, what they have to do. Also no announcement when on the buttons for close and change. Okay, this cannot be. I will start again.
Voiceover off.
Because this cannot be possible, actually.
Voiceover on Chrome. Freenper, part of group. Checked. Checkbox.
Okay.
You are currently on a check. What are you meowing about? Edit text. Complete profile.
Yeah.
Button.
Okay.
You are currently on a button.
So
to click this button, press Control. Button. Search.
And also the search
You are
button.
currently on a button. To click this button, press Control. Space.
Sometimes, and I think in JAWS this is very common, or also in NBD, you have to restart again when something seems off. Most likely it's just the reset which is needed, and not that the website is that bad as you think in the moment.
Complete what are you meowing about? Edit text. Blank. You are currently on a text area. Checked. Checkbox. You are currently on a checkbox. To select or deselect this.
So telling me that I'm a checkbox, it does not say what checkboxes is. So I do not know anything about what the selections are or what is even about. There's no label. And even though I can see that there is a label for this checkbox like Duchess.
What are you meowing about? Edit text. Share with. Unchecked. Checkbox. You are currently on a checkbox.
In this case, it's checked. And the first one was checked.
You are currently
but also no
checkbox. You are currently on a checkbox.
See that Berlioz be here.
Unchecked. Checkbox. You are currently on a checkbox. To select or deselect this check.
The same goes for the last one.
Share button. You are currently on a button.
It tells us that we
are on a share button,
share, but I do not know what I could possibly share here.
Link, goats. You are currently on a link.
It tells us that we are on a link on goats, but I would suggest that the text would have been more descriptive. Like, is it the Wikipedia entry for goats? Is it the link to a picture about goats? Something like this. But this is also something we can now think about, and after that I will be looking at the source code and check out the element, how is it created and why does it sound the way it sounds.
Leaving Freenper, entering group webinar 7 with desktop.
Now I have left the whole application because
voiceover off.
What comes below is a block quote, and this is not an interactive element, so there's no focus on it. That's why it did not announce anything. Another way to navigate a website with a screen reader is by using
voiceover on Chrome. Part of group webinar 7 Google Chrome window. Profile picture. What are you meowing? Buttons menu. You are currently in a voiceover.
In this case, we can open the router by using Control Option. This is the voice-over combination, so we can use it voice-over keys, Control Option, and hitting the U, and then it opens the router. And this helps the screen reader user navigate way faster. In this case, the website is very small, but we know there are e-commerce websites or like the Wikipedia websites, which are sometimes very, 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 very long, and you cannot read everything from top to bottom until you know that you are interested in the content or not. That's why screen reader users use the shortcuts like the router and to get a grasp what the website is about. We start here with the buttons. This is not necessarily the case. It depends on what you have, what your settings are on your machine, but doesn't matter. Okay, what buttons do we have here? And this also helps you understand that is the button text itself descriptive enough. Circles, collapsed buttons. I mean, I'm not sure what circles could mean in in the context of cats, but this is the text also for the button, so I guess this makes sense for cats lovers. I don't know. The next button is the search one, and it does not have any. So when the screenreader user navigates with the rotor, they would not know what kind of button this is and what they can do with the button and what will happen when they click the button. Then there's a button, it could be profile button and a share button. I mean, the share button is not that descriptive because what are we sharing, but at least there is some kind of text. You can navigate here with arrow down and up. To go to the next rotor element, you hit left or right.
Images menu.
Now we can see what images are on there. And we have the profile picture image, and which is not a very descriptive alt text. So this is an image of a cat. When it's not important for you to make the other user aware of what the image is, then you should leave the alt text empty. So the alt text attribute empty. And
to get missing image descriptions, open the context menu, unlabeled image.
Yeah, you unlabeled an image, and this is what you get when you do not have any alt text, a very long text with weird information. This is also, of course, the images we would have to check out what's going on.
List menu.
Then we have a list. One list, in this case, it would be the navigation.
Windows spots menu. Links menu.
What kind of links do we have on it? The friends per. I think it's not very descriptive. It's a text of the website, or what's the website about. Until now, I would not understand what the website is about. I think it's about sharing your love to cats. And normally the first link, when you put your logo inside a link, then it would also gets you back to the homepage. So you should also write it like this, go back to homepage, and not the text of, not your logo, your brand name.
Profile, current, visited.
This one is quite good, that you add the current text for screenreader users, that they know on which site they're currently on. And then we have feeds,
visited, goats,
and also goats. This was the link a little bit down there, but
feed, cell,
as said, not
visited, link.
Oops. Sorry.
What are you meowing about? Edit links menu, landmarks menu.
Then we have landmarks.
You are currently in navigation.
We have the navigation,
search,
we have the search, and we have the main.
Form controls menu.
Also, what forms do we have? We can see again, the button, of course, is also a form.
Headings menu, form control, search button.
We already discussed it, that this has not descriptive text, but also
what are you meowing about? Edit text, blank.
It's a text area, but here we are with our
visited,
checked and
link,
unchecked.
What are you meowing? Form controls menu, complete. What are you checked? Checkbox.
There is no label
you
at
are
all,
currently
so
unchecked.
we do not know
unchecked.
What
Checkbox.
we could possibly check or uncheck.
Headings menu.
And this one heading, it's chain pause.
Checkbox.
Normally, the heading number 1 should be the one describing the whole site. And with chain pause, I guess this is the name of the user. It does not tell us anything about what the website is. So it should more be like, even if it's a hidden text, it should be also the title, friends for social media or something. And with this, you can not only go through what's on it, but you can also jump to it.
Form control, landmarks menu.
So let's say I want to go to the navigation.
Visit
then you
link, can. You are currently on.
Hit the enter button and
circles.
You are
collapse circles
on the
button.
navigation.
Toolbar item palette. Profile voiceover off.
So this would be how to kind of navigate it. And you should already have written down some things you noticed that you now can come back to not forget anything. But what I remember is that in this case, the checkboxes. And what I wanted to mention, sorry. I, of course, was using, this is very important, VoiceOver on Mac, not on Safari, but on Chrome, because in case you are not very familiar with testing, the Safari browser is not, how should I put it? They do not even have an accessibility tree. So it's very hard to explain what's going on behind the scenes. And that's why I chose, what did I say? Chrome, for you to better showcase what's going on and how the code looks like, and also how the access tree looks like. Because Safari does not have it. So this also means that some output showcasing in here could be different when you test it at home on your Mac, on Safari with VoiceOver how you should do it correctly. Yeah. Okay, we are here with the checkboxes. For display reasons, they chose a table element, which is already something I would not choose, I would say. But okay, a table was never announced, so it was ignored by screen readers. But normally we should display it grid or to make it responsive, also flexbox. But okay, they chose a table for it. And we see that we have the row checkbox on a div element. Role means that this is not the default. Of course, you should not even have written it like this. You should have used the input with the type checkbox, as I showed you like here. This is how you do checkboxes. But they chose a div element and give it the role of checkbox. Role comes from the ARIA. And that's why they also have to ARIA checked, because only adding a role does not give them any additional information, the element. And you give them the role button does not make it automatically interactive like a normal button. So only the role button does not put a keyboard, a spacebar, or an enter key interaction possibility. So you can not do anything with an element just by putting the role button on it. You can see more information about the element here in Chrome. We're here in Chrome. We have the role checkbox. We have the ARIA checked if it's true or not. This is also something you have to write additionally, and also the tab index to make it interactive anyway and focusable. This is also something you have to add additionally, which would be built in when you simply use the input type checkbox. And we also have the option to check out the accessibility content or more content on it. If you do not have this element, this little icon here, you will get it by accessibility tree, enable full page accessibility tree. Check it and reload the DevTools. Then you will see it, and then you can activate the accessibility tree, which I will do in just a second. You have here the ARIA attributes, that we have the row checkbox that is checked is true, and that it's a label. It's ARIA labeled by, and we should now be able to find out why, if it has a label, why it does not work. And a little bit down, we can see that the ARIA labeled by is strike through. So why would this be the case? The label for it would be Duchess. So I will go to inspect the Duchess. And we can see that it's, for some reason, the developer added an ARIA hidden true on it. And ARIA hidden true means that for screen readers, it's not perceivable. And that's why there is no label, even so we can see the label, but for screen reader users, there is no label available. If you want to check the elements out in the accessibility tree, you can simply switch between DOM tree and accessibility tree by activating this little icon. And then you can also see that the last thing, which is screen reader perceivable, is the share with text. Then going down on the same level, we do have the row of the images, which are the checkboxes. You can see if it's true or false. And going to the text, then it will be ignored. So there's no way for screen reader users to understand what's going on here, because it's going to be ignored by screen reader users because of the ARIA hidden element, which was added here. Let's also check out this circle element. Funny enough that we are in this list, we're in the navigation. And in the navigation, we have this element. This is the element for the mobile version, I guess. We do have the unordered lists. This is how you usually write a navigation bar with list element and also with the links inside it. In this case, we have the route part or the hashtag, but of course, this is just because it's a dummy website. But for the last one, which is a dropdown, I'm not sure if this would also be a link or if this, because how it is coded, it should be only a button. Oh, it also has the roll button on it. So, okay, this is what I'm talking about. We have the link element here, but we gave it the roll button. We don't do that. Yeah, good developers do not do that. We use a button element because button. And you toggle it, you edit area expanded if it's false or true. This should change. Yes, if you open it or close it. Yeah. And within the dropdown, we now have another list, a list of 3 items. Let's look at it how they were added. And they have added it with the role menu, which is totally fine. But what's missing here is, and this should actually be also an error with the automatic testing tools, because we have an unordered list which is overwritten with the role menu, commonly used this way. But when you use the role menu, you also have to have a menu item as a child. So this is something a screen reader itself cannot tell us, but this is something you will know or will find out when you see something like this. And you should always wonder if you see something you're not familiar with. So in my case, I work with menu roles, and I would Google it. I mean, Google it. I would go to Art and Rosselli. So this is the source of, it's like the Bible, kind of. The source of the single source of truth is for me Art and Rosselli. How he explains the menu, or also how ARIA is used. You can also check it out in the documentation for this. That it has to have menu as childs. Like, in case you don't know, if you create a list with unordered list, the only elements below you can use is lists or templates and something as a script element, I think, but you cannot use a link as the first child of an unordered list. So this is not working. This is a concept you just have to understand and know about. A parent unordered list or ordered list has a child list element. In this case, we have a menu as a parent, so we have a menu item as a child, and most likely, so this cannot happen most of the times. If you use the list element, so the code itself is okay. You would add a role presentation to make the list element just for showcasing reasons, like a div, and then put the role for menu item on the A tag, because this is the element which is about. So it contains the link. Something will happen when you click on this. This would be the element you're going for with the role menu item. And in case you are unsure with stuff like this, you can go to the ARIA role. So it's very well explained here in the Mozilla Firefox documentation. And I was at the menu. So the description, what does the menu do and how is it used, and and why are you using, and also the keyboard interaction you have to add. Also there's also an example which is already the same example I'm currently talking about, that it has the role menu and then the list element has the role presentation, so it gets ignored. It gets ignored, and so the first child, the official child of the unordered list element, would be then the menu item. But this has to be existent. Otherwise, this is not working expected for screen reader users, and it's also it's just wrong. For the search element, because nothing was announced, this is also something interesting, and I did not know before. Sure. I will. So this guy, everyone, if you don't know him, you have to know him, because he's the guy for everything. And I will talk later in another webinar about him a little bit more in detail. For the input element, this is also something I found out recently. We see that it has a placeholder, and we should also know that a placeholder is not a label. And it's also, I would say, the contrast is bad, and it's also not a real label. It's just for, I think it maybe looks cool, or I don't know. We use it because we use it for a long time, and not many people have questioned it 10 years ago or something like this. But it's not a real label, so we would actually have to add a label, like a search before it. Most of the time people do not want this because it looks not good or whatever. Then you could also make it invisible for other people and not for screen reader users. So it would be at least important for screen reader users, but it would be important for everyone, actually. But the interesting thing is that now there's a shadow root, and the user agent created a label for it by itself. So the browser created a label from the placeholder text because it realized that the label is missing. This is cool. This is kind of cool, but it also shows that the developer, first of all, was lazy, and maybe will be lazy again, because now we know that the browser most likely add this shadow root and create a label for this element. I mean, it's good for preventing errors, but don't be lazy as a developer. Just add it by yourself. Yeah, it was something that interesting. I don't think so. For it, it's a small website. Yeah, like I said, I mean, this is also not a type. If you work with buttons, you should normally add also a type. There's type button when it's something like this, just a button. The type, and yeah, people discuss it when it's just a type button, because there's no submit or cancel. Why it's not simply without any type, but I do not make the rules. This is a rule, so add the type button. For this, in this case, and also a more descriptive name, like share a picture of cute goats, something like this. And I'm also bad with alternative text, so do not listen to me. Another button. This has, for example, the type submit, so this is good. And for the search element, we already wrote a search element, sorry. Yeah, here in the text area, we have a text area. It also has no label, that what we could add inside the text area, and it also, so the user agent, in this case, Chrome, also added from the placeholder text label. Yeah. I think from my side, this would be it when it comes to screen reader testing for a very simple site. Of course, you should also check like responsiveness. Things change. Also, a screen reader, how this maybe opens or not opens. Also, I also had many discussions like, yeah, there don't has to be like focus or something when we are on a mobile phone, but there are so many combinations like that. People maybe use even it's a mobile phone, they still put on the a keyboard or something and still navigate with a keyboard on a mobile phone. So if you ever wondered, okay, this is nothing we need on a mobile because we only touch it, this is not actually the case, because not every user can touch a mobile screen. Yeah, just a fun fact or something. Do I have anything left on the presentation? No, all the examples in here. And of course, what I've added in Rosselli, I also added in my resources. Also other great people in the accessibility area, Lene Watson, Madusovic, Scott O'Hara, Sara Suedan, Steve Hogan, Scott, oh, he's there twice because he's so good. Eric Eggert, Makoto Ueki from Japan. These are, I think, the most common resources you should know about and you should go to, because all these people take accessibility, first of all, very seriously. I mean, very seriously. They are in the field for 10, 20, or since the internet exists. This is already a thing or a reason to follow them or to check out their posts. And one, or especially Adrian Rosselli, so I read all his blog posts. He does user research and testing, and you can find all the outputs. When he talks about an element, then he adds the code. He adds the screenreader output. He has the screenreader output from JAWS and from NVDA and from VoiceOver, and also what to expect and how he communicated with the user to understand, for us to understand why a user would expect it or not expect it. Sometimes there were even elements which I thought, okay, this is not good, but then Adrian says, yeah, he did a lot of research with a lot of user testing, and they said, okay, they don't care about it, so that's okay. There are many aha moments. I also like how he questions I think all of them questions what's out there, and not simply, we made this cool new feature and this is accessible. Nope. These people say it's accessible and you can use it, then use it out there from any other person than them. Just a suggestion from my side, but listen to me, at least when it comes to the resources. Yep, I will announce the next session is in July 24th, when I will talk about own the role and share your knowledge and streamline team communication. I will talk about, I want to talk about what you should know about accessibility when you're a designer, how you should communicate with developers, what you should know as a developer and how you should communicate with designers and testers, and what you should know as a tester and how to communicate with the developer. And it's much about communication and also knowledge sharing, and also that you maybe should know more than you think, but not that much. So, for example, as a designer, I would encourage you to understand, not to be able to write, but to understand HTML and CSS, maybe a simple JavaScript, to make an application more accessible. Because I had many situations where a designer gave me an element and said I should code this, and when I asked something like, okay, do you want it like this or like that, and how should it, or this is not even possible, then they didn't know about it. They thought this was easy to code, or they think it was my responsibility to think about how it should end up, but I don't think so. Stuff like this, and a few examples what I have experienced on my own. Like this, for example, this is the thing I'm going to talk about next time. You can. This is just a text. Can I copy the link? Register for this one. As mentioned, you can material in a few days. I will try to update the recording as soon as possible on YouTube, as well as the slides, or you go to the GDG community website or to the Web Accessibility First webinar series, where you will also find the transcript, slides, and the YouTube video of the session. Also, for every new accessibility event, online or in Vienna or in Austria, you will get notified by the newsletter of Accessibility News, and also some cool posts by Laura different topics on accessibility, Pokemon, Pokédex of accessibility, quite cool stuff you cannot find anywhere else. So I would be open for the Q&A, and I will also check out if there were questions, other my issues, connections. And you can post the questions in the Q&A also if you want to stay anonymous, but simply in the chat. Oops. Where is my chat? I think I shared all the important news. Okay, I hope you could hear anything, otherwise you will be able to watch the recording again. And I think there were no specific questions from today's session. Hopefully it was understandable. I tried my best to make it as understandable as possible. And yeah, besides screenreaders, any plugins or tools, you can check out my previous sessions about automatic testing tools. This was simply about screenreader. You can find the previous session, like past events. Testing tools for enhancement, for example. And there was a part 2. There was also a part 1. I also find the slides where I share all the tools within to check it out. Yeah, tools, extensions, browser extensions, bookmarks, the automatic testing tools. Yeah, you can find. And also for beginners, this is my webinar series. You should start watching from the beginning, because I tried to start from basics as a beginner, and then going to the automatic testing tools, how to start with it, and go there over time. So you will be good to go when you start going to the previous events I have made. And you can find every event in here, or like I started here in January, getting started with designing for web accessibility. This was really the basic, like what is accessibility? Yeah, how to accessibility, also more the simple stuff like contrast issues and stuff like this, and how you could improve simple stuff. And then already going over to the test tools, what to look at in part 1 and part 2, because there are so many tools. And this is also these are only the tools for, I would say, beginners, or how to start in accessibility. Yeah, and also much automatic testing, and how you can learn with automatic testing tools to get better in accessibility, because they provide so much information by using the automatic testing tools and how they connect with the TQ University library. So if you watch the recordings or look through the slides, you are good to go to start accessibility. And yeah, then you see, then we're going to level up your accessibility game, also the European Accessibility Act. And today, with the manual testing, this is already more advanced. If you understand more of HTML and CSS already, yeah, it's getting. I tried to make it from beginner to advanced until the end, which is October, where you get an assignment. So you get the assignment in September, but we will do it in October. And yeah, the last event will be the DevFest in November, which I can say it again. Submit your proposal if you're in Vienna, and especially women, people with disabilities. Make it a more female attendance than last year. I think me and Laura, maybe another girl, but not enough women there. Yep. If there is not another question, thanks Lucas, thanks everyone, Ameda, Pratik, Andrea. Then this would be it for today. Yep, thanks Laura, post it again. Yep, Have a nice evening. See you next month. Maybe see you at We Are Developers in Berlin. If someone is there, I'm also there giving a talk about semantic HTML. You can reach out to me, find me on Friday. Yeah. Then thank you for joining and have a nice evening. Thank you.